Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday afternoon. Real quick, just to make sure we don't have we're not having any technical difficulties. In the toolbar on the right-hand side of your screen, there's a field for entering questions. If a couple of you could just shoot me a comment that you can hear me okay and you can see my screen okay, that would be great. Awesome. Thank you, Damien. All right, let's kick this off. Should be about 15-20 minutes, and we'll get you on your way back to your fun afternoon of work. So this program, the SBTDC's Graduate Summer Consulting Program, is now in its 17th year. So I actually started back at the SBTDC in 2001, and that first year kicked this program off, and it's been off and running since. So we're happy that we're in year number 17. So in that 17-year period, over 300 businesses have been included in the program. Over 150 interns have worked with those 300 plus businesses. So the numbers are getting pretty significant at this point. And even more significant is the number of man hours that these interns have provided to clients that have participated. 65,000 hours. That's close to about 30 man years of time. So pretty significant level of service and commitment that interns have been providing. So as we talked about in our last webinar, when we kind of discussed the program in general, we talked about the fact that the SBTDC funds roughly half of the internship program, and the universities that these students are coming from funds roughly the other half. So it's been a good partnership effort, and it continues to be so. So this year we are working with a number of different programs. First, we have NC State, their Master's Business Administration program, MBA. At Duke, both the MBA and the MEM, which stands for Masters of Engineering Management program, both of them are participating. And by the way, the MEM program is a year-and-a-half long, really tech commercialization focused program that the Duke Engineering School provides. All of the MEM students come into the program with an undergrad degree in some domain of engineering. So they're kind of getting a mini MBA, if you will. At UNC Chapel Hill, we'll have both the MBA and the Schools of Pharmacy participating. Western Carolina MBA program, and UNC Charlotte Engineering program. So we're happy to have UNC Charlotte on this year. It's their first year participating, so glad to have them on board. So the time commitment that we're looking at over the summer is that each student will work with 2 clients, so both yourself and another client. They work with both clients simultaneously. So that equates to about 2.5 days per week of service to both of their clients. By the end of the internship, they should have calculated or provided up to 200 hours of service. So those numbers are something that we track, just as we as business counselors track the time that we spend working on behalf of clients. We ask that the interns do that as well. The SBTDC Technology Commercialization Team, which is composed of Nicole, Mike, Chris, myself, and David Walker. All of you know at least 1 or 2 of those individuals. Our team will act as individual mentors for each of the students going from day 1 all the way through the end of the program. As mentors, we will have weekly discussions with the interns, having kind of strategic discussions about how the project's going, what challenges they're facing, really, and try to be another set of eyes perhaps that looks over their documentation that they're creating, et cetera. So we kind of hold their hand throughout the summer. And it's interesting as the summer progresses, you can tell that these interns are becoming almost more like colleagues than more a mentor-intern relationship. So it's pretty nice to see their development over the summer. So we want you, the clients, to keep in communication with us throughout the summer. So we love to hear, both good news, updates on things, any challenges or issues that you're facing, whether it be business challenges or challenges that are popping up with your intern. Keep us in the loop. We like to look at this whole program as a triangle, a 3-point triangle, where you're 1 point, the intern is 1 point, and the SBTDC is 1 point. So communication throughout that whole triangle is really, really important. Just as we're having weekly conversations with our interns, we want you and us to keep in the loop as well. Communication between the intern and the client is very, very key as well. So the more kind of face time that you can have with your intern, we find the better that the outcome of the projects will be. So we, at the very least, suggest that you schedule a weekly communication with your client, or with your intern, excuse me. It doesn't have to be face-to-face, so if there's a distance gap between where your intern is based and where you're located, we're not mandating that you have a face-to-face meeting every single week. But if you can, that's terrific. In person, is best, obviously. And we ask that, if it's summer, people take vacations. So if you're planning to take a vacation and you're kind of the primary point person for the intern, identify another point of contact for the intern, so that they're going to not skip a beat if you disappear on vacation for a week or two. So just keep those communication lines open. So the work location is completely flexible. Students, we let them know that they can work virtually. So there's no requirement that you provide them office space. We know that a lot of you don't necessarily have office space that you can dedicate to an intern. But if you do, that's great. The more, again, face time that you can have and that your team can have with the intern, the more integrated both they and you will feel. But again, completely flexible. A lot of interns will, in the case of clients that have office space, they'll work perhaps Monday and Tuesday at client number 1, Wednesday, Thursday with client number 2, and then maybe Friday virtually, kind of tying up loose ends and things like that. So we'll leave that to you and the intern to figure out logistics on that. Okay, very important point here. Students become employees, the interns become employees of the SBTDC during the internship period. Okay? And all employees of the SBTDC, so myself and the other 70 SBTDC full-time employees, are held to a very high level of standards of conduct. And in that standard of conduct document that we sign off on, clearly outlines what our confidentiality policy is. And what that is that as advisors of your business, we cannot share information about your business, or even the fact that we're working with you, to any other entity or any other person outside of the SBTDC. Okay? And we ask those interns to sign off on the same document. We cover that in great detail in our orientation session that'll come up on May 8th. And we expect those interns to handle your information as confidentially as we do. So with that, students cannot sign NDAs with your business, because that would preclude them from working with us as their mentor and as your business counselor. So just to be clear, they do sign off on our confidentiality form, and no NDAs can be signed off simply because that would preclude them from openly communicating with us at the SBTDC. Project planning. Your initial meeting with the intern will be May 8th, and perhaps some of you, hopefully most of you, have been at least in email communication with your intern so far. But that first meeting is going to be one of the most important. And in that first meeting, what we're going to advise interns is to develop a very detailed project description, kind of a milestone 10-week map of what they believe needs to be carried out to overcome the challenges that you, the business, is currently facing. We want you to be an integral part of the development of that work plan so that everybody is on the same page. So once you and the intern have reviewed it, at the end of that first week, the interns will then send that document to us, and each of the individual mentors will review that for clarity, for ultimately are the milestones that are suggested really going to drive impacts for your business at the end of the 10 weeks. That's what we're looking for. So here's an example of a work plan. Pretty simple spreadsheet, but you break it down weeks 1 through 10 or weeks 1 through 11. What the activities are that the intern plans to work on that week. What are the expected deliverables? And then the final column is what's the progress? What's been completed so far? Okay. So we'll continue to monitor with the intern that work plan over the summer, and we highly suggest that you in your weekly meetings monitor that project plan with the intern as well. So every week, with an update on the work plan, the interns will also be submitting to us kind of a templated document of more detailed work that they've been carrying out on your behalf. So just like us as business counselors, we're required to document the work that we do on your behalf. And again, since they're employees of the SBTDC for the summer, they're held to that same standard. All of that information goes into our client management system, which enables us to, any business counselor on the team to review what's been done with clients and kind of what next steps are going to be needed. So it's our client management system. So our team is going to be meeting with all 11 interns over 6 meetings throughout the summer. So our first session is going to be May 8th, and that incorporates a half-day orientation session where we kind of get the interns up to speed on best practices, things that they need to really be thinking about in their first week, helping them to get up to speed quickly, etc. And we'll also have a couple of interns from last year come in to talk about kind of best practices that they learned throughout their 10 or 11 weeks. And hopefully the interns this year will be able to follow in their very good footsteps. So our second session will be a week after the orientation. We'll do a presentation on how to conduct voice of customer research, which is simply how do you go out and conduct efficient primary market research? What do you do to collect email addresses, phone numbers, etc., from people that you want to collect data from, whether it be customers or competitors or stakeholders, and then how to go about analyzing that voice of customer data. And then we'll also discuss their projects. Third session is a focus on some intellectual property issues that all businesses face, so we'll help them get to speed up on that. Sessions 4 and 5 are focused on elevator pitches. So we ask each intern to develop a 60-second pitch presentation for each of their 2 clients. And in session number 5, they deliver that and we critique them. So we have a lot of fun with that. And the big takeaway from that session is for you to work on that pitch presentation with the intern, so that and I'm sure all of you have a pitch already created, perhaps maybe not a 60-second one, but it's something that you can use going forward. And then finally, at the end of April, July 24th, final presentations will be carried out. So it's a full day of 15-minute presentations by each of the interns, where they discuss the businesses that they worked with, problem areas that we're focused on, the strategy that the intern took to kind of dive into those challenges, and what were the professional lessons learned. And it's always interesting to hear the interns' professional or clarity on what their professional life may look like. And a lot of them, haven't necessarily been involved directly in an entrepreneurial project before, in depth in a company. And this really opens their eyes to the entrepreneurial world and a lot of opportunities that they may not have even considered. On that note, over the 17 years, there's been a good handful of students that have either gone on to create their own businesses or joined on their companies that they worked with over the summer. And some of them have done quite well on some exits that they've had. So it's really, really cool to see over time how these interns progress in their careers. So funding, as we discussed in our previous webinar presentation, the SBTDC and the universities are able to fund most of the stipends of the students. However, we do look for the clients that are participating to provide a nominal amount of $500. And what we will do is, after the program kicks off, likely mid to late May, we'll send you an email invoice, and you can respond to that invoice. So in conclusion, between now and May 8th, if you could provide as much kind of background information for the intern to review. They may or may not have any time a lot of time, let's put it that way, to delve into the projects quite yet, simply because they're in the midst of final exams right now. But if that is the case, that they have a little bit of time, they'd like to dive in, feel free to send them some background information, so that on May 8th they can hit the ground running full speed. If you have not heard from your intern yet, please reach out to them, or actually let me know if you haven't heard from them, just so I can figure out perhaps what's going on. Schedule that initial meeting with them for May 8th or May 9th. In that first week, creation and review of that work plan is very, very important. Logistically, workspace is not a requirement. However, if you do have some space, that's great, but definitely keep communication lines open with both us and the interns, having at least weekly meetings with your intern. So with that, I will open it up to questions. So in the question field on your toolbar on the right-hand side of your screen, feel free to type in any questions. If you'd like a copy of this presentation, feel free to email me. I'd be happy to send that out just so you can have it in your files. And we'll go from there. And by all means, if you'd like to send your questions privately or directly to me, email address is on the screen. Happy to answer those. So we've got a a really, really terrific group of interns this summer. Um, we interviewed about 70 candidates and picked these 11 candidates. And of those 70 candidates, we reviewed probably 150 resumes. So it's a lot of interest in this program, and we're really happy that we can be selective when we select our interns. Um, all right, so I don't see any questions popping up. Appreciate everybody's time. Got you out of here in 20 minutes. So hopefully you have a great rest of your Tuesday, and we really, really look forward to working with you throughout the summer. So we'll sign off. Thank you.